In this video, we will explore ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Living Atlas of the world. These platforms provide thousands of ready-to-use datasets that can support landscape architecture, planning, environmental analysis, and site research. We'll look at datasets relevant to Lubbock and Texas, and then broaden to global ecological resources useful for design and environmental awareness. So you can find them within your portal, and here the last two icons are consequently uh, ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Living Atlas. So here is where you can find them, and they both have extensive list of resources, and we'll try to cover a few that are potentially going to be useful for us. Now that we understand the interface, I want to demonstrate how ArcGIS Online can serve as a quick and reliable starting point for gathering spatial data, especially when we are working on a local or regional project. ArcGIS Online, as you can see, hosts thousands of datasets shared by cities, state agencies, researchers, and organizations. The advantages here is that the data is already georeferenced, already formatted for mapping, and it can be brought directly into ArcGIS Pro without needing to convert file types manually. This reduces setup time and allows us to move more quickly into analysis and design. Now let's see what we can find for Lubbock. Here you can see this icon right here under portal is ArcGIS Online, and let's just type in Lubbock. Here you can start to see it's now populated by data that are related to city of Lubbock. So we can just drag and drop. For some reason my mouse today is not working. So what you can do is right click and add to current map. And then it takes a little, but then it creates a new layer right here. Right now it's going under my base map, but if you drag and pull it up, you can see that right here is your city of Lubbock county city limits. Also, you can see there are a bunch of other things, so you can just try to add Lubbock city limits itself onto your map, and that would remove the county limits and only give you the city limits. You might be a little confused about why are we gonna use the solid color fill. So you can change all those. Let's say I want to change my city county limits into something else. So you right click on the layer and then you'll click on symbology. Here you can see the symbology pane pops up. So you can always go and change that symbol. So if you click on that green, and you can now see there are a bunch of other things that are going on. You can click on this and now you can see your city limits have changed. So that's important. You can also go to properties right here of your symbology, and then you can change your outline width, outline color, and all the good stuff. So let's say I want it to be orange and I want this to be 2 points instead of 1. So let's hit apply, and you can see it's starting to change. So that's a good thing. And we will talk about symbology a lot more in one of our next videos, but that's how you can just drag and drop a data layer and start to change its colors or how it looks. There are a bunch of other good data sets available in ArcGIS Online. So if you just try to go down a little, you can see there's public park map, and also if you just hover over your mouse you can see when it was updated. So you can see it's quite outdated. This is 2025 and the latest that we have for public park map is 2019, so that might be an issue. And we will also learn to kind of get the most updated data source from City of Lubbock public portal, but this is one way of getting yourself up and running. So you can just add your schools. It takes a while to load, so be prepared. But here you can see this is a point feature layer where I have location of all the schools. Also important is the attribute tables of any data you import. So in ArcGIS, there's nothing such as only a geometry. There's always some data associated with it. So you can right click on your layer and go for attribute tables. So this is a group layer. I don't have an attribute table here, but here if I expand this, I have schools. So right click on this, and then if I go for attribute table, the shortcut of which is Ctrl T, I can see what data is associated with it. So here you can see I have the name of the city, I have some addresses, I have the region, and I have the school district as well. So I can color code my schools according to their school district, which is very important. I can also have their contact email address. Also remember, this can be outdated because here you can see schools 2022, so it means it was last updated on 2022, but it's a good place to start. So if you want to work with schools and school types and anything else, you can just use this. So let's try to see how can I change the symbology layers according to the school districts. So right click and go to symbology. Here you can see the primary symbology is single symbol. So let's change that into unique values. And instead of object ID, let's make it into, which is in our case user district 1. And here you can see I have a lot of different types of school districts. Here I can change all of their colors, all of their symbol types. Now if I go back to ArcGIS Online and try to see what else is available to me, I can start to go for parks. Parks is a good example to add. So right click and add to current map. This layer shows public parks and recreational open spaces within Lubbock for landscape architecture. This is important for mapping green space as well as for understanding urban ecological networks, recreational access, and equity in public space distribution. So here, this blue layer is the parks layer. We can expand this and right click for symbology, but we can also just do a Ctrl T, and here we have the parks attribute table. So here you have the names of your park which are under label. So you can always right click and click on label to kind of see the names of your park. As soon as you click on label, you have this label tab open. So you can go for that and change the label font size. So let's say I want this font size to be 8 instead of 10. You can see all of their labels have changed. I can also change the label color to something else that pops up a little more and a little pleasing to the eye. I can change the label fonts so that they are a little less weird. But yeah, you can do a lot of stuff. You can also just right click and click on symbology to kind of change the symbol color and outline if you want to. But let's say I want this to be green because parks should usually be green, and then if I click on apply, then this becomes green. So that's one way of getting your parks inside your map. Also, you have road center lines, which is quite important if you're creating any kind of urban design. So let's try to see where are our road, or I can just type in Lubbock Road and something will pop up. So here is our road center lines. So right click and add to current map. This is a heavy data set, so it takes a while to load, but here you can see you have all the roads. And also you can just do a Ctrl T for attribute table to see what kind of roads are available to you. So you can change the symbology according to your road types. So here you have surface types of different roads. So paved, caliche, dirt, and also I think you have road types. So street, uh, frontage road. What else do I have? If you're a little confused about your typologies, you can always right click and do a sort ascending or sort descending. So let's do a sort descending. That way I have an alphabetical way to see what kind of roads are there, or what kind of data do I have. So here I can see road street type, so I can do a sort ascending, and then I should have a lot of roads are not labeled per their street type. Let's do a sort descending instead. So yeah, I have private roads, I think I should have highways. It's a lot of different stuff. So I can do symbology according to these. I also have a nice child safety zone. So let's see. So here I can do a drag and drop, but this is quite important. So you can see usually whatever I was dragging and dropping or adding to my map had this yellow icon, but this one has a green icon because this is not only a dataset, this is a map as well. So I can do right click and add and open instead of add to current map, because I can't add one map on top of another. So let's wait and see what comes up. So here I have the child safety zone. This map looks very different, but you can see there are quite a few interesting data that are associated with this map. You can see 100-foot buffer, sorry, 1,000-foot buffer from all the activity zones that are there. So you have your parks, you should have your schools, you should have your youth center, daycares, and all the things that are usually associated with children's safety. So you can add all those, and then you can like try to measure the 1,000-foot buffer to see what's around them. So you can just do shift and selection, right click, copy, and then you can go back to your map and right click on the map and do a paste. That will bring everything from that map to this map. So that's one other way to get your data from one map to another. There's also a nice zoning map. So let's do a Lubbock zoning. Let's see, what do I have? So here I have the Lubbock zoning map. So right click and add and open. So the zoning map encodes land use regulations such as residential, commercial, industrial, and mixed use or open space zones. Here you can see the map has a lot of different layers, and it also comes with different image cache. So you can turn all those on to see what's going on. It's a very heavy map, so whenever you like change something, it takes a while to load. But here you have the current zoning, you have the zoning other, and you can see what types of zoning are there. So you have auto urban commercial, general industrial, heavy commercial, and a lot of different other types. Zoning map helps you to align design proposals with policy or identify where zoning change might be necessary. Like everything else, you can just right click and copy and go back to your own map, right click on top of it and paste. And then you'll have the UDC zones. So that's one way to get your zonings into your map. One other important thing for Lubbock is playa lakes, because this is in high plains and playa lakes are one of the most important parts of ecosystem of Lubbock. So to get a playa lake map, you can just search for Ogallala, and then you have high plains aquifer, southern Ogallala, and a lot of different things. You can also search for Lubbock City lakes, and this database will give you different location of the water bodies. So here you start to see there are the outlines of the lakes. You can change those to blue so that they make a little more sense. Hit apply. So those are your lakes. To make things a little more visible, let's turn off the other layers. So there you have your lakes, and you can, I believe there are a bunch of different attribute tables on this. So let's see what we have. We have lake types. This is not really a great data set, but yeah, it tells you about jurisdictions, and mostly jurisdictions. And also there is a non-overflow type. So again, not all databases that you will find will be great, but these are a good point to start with. So yeah, you can keep looking for data sources within ArcGIS Online, and it might help you a lot more than you think. Now let's talk about the powerful resource that is the Living Atlas of the world. The Living Atlas is an ever-evolving, curated collection of global geographic content, maps, imagery, data layers, and apps that the GIS community and Esri maintain and share. According to documentation, it includes content such as basemaps, imagery, demographics, landscape or earth observation, transportation networks, and many more. In practice, at least for us landscape architects, this means we can spend less time for hunting basic data and more time doing what we care about: analysis, interpretation, and design. This allows for time efficiency, quality assurance, integration across scales, educational demonstration, and also design relevance. About quality assurance, you'll see that many items carry authoritative or subscriber badge. So if I just go into one of the sources, let's say this, you see a lot of these maps have this authoritative badge. So when using this, you can directly cite this data source, and you can say that, okay, I have downloaded from an authoritative data source, and nobody is going to question the credibility of your analysis. So this is an extremely powerful tool in terms of that. Also, you can find many types of useful layers. You can go for different types of imagery, different types of base maps, boundaries. These also have population, housing, neighborhoods, jobs, different types of population data, and also you can see what's trending. So that's important. So let's see and try to find a few data sets of our own. Let's try to see for at least what's trending. So I'll control and click that. I'll click on that, and here you can see I have satellite thermal hotspots and fire activity. So let's try to click on that and see what happens. So it opens a new tab, and as soon as it's loaded, you can see I have the option to open in Map Viewer, open in Scene Viewer, and open in ArcGIS Pro, because we're trying to learn ArcGIS Pro. Let's try with that. And it asks if I should download it in this. So let's download it. And now if I click on it, it will try to open a new ArcGIS Pro file. So that's how you open a feature layer from Living Atlas to ArcGIS Pro. While that loads, we can also try to find it in our file. So the file that we had from before, this is the icon for Living Atlas. We can try to directly search for this. Let's try to copy and paste this. Here you can see I have it directly, and it's also the same file. It's from the same date. So just right click and add to the current map. It's just loaded, so right click and zoom to layer, and I can see different fire activities all across US. So here you can see forest fire, heat zones in Canada, heat zones in Sacramento, some in Texas, New Orleans. So yeah, this is a pretty authoritative and elaborate data set. And also if I just do a Control T, we can see it's a huge data set. So it has different columns, but also a lot of data points. So yeah, this is a pretty extensive data set. You can also create different types of filter when looking for data. So here, if I click on boundaries, I can see all different types of boundaries. But if I click on this drop down, I can see it consists of administrative, environmental, and geometric. So let's turn off these two. And then I start to see the environmental boundaries. So here, one relevant dataset might be USA current wildfires. So let's see that. And I'll not download this. I'll just copy and paste the name inside my ArcGIS Living Atlas. So that's the one. Add to current map. It's adding data. And then you start to see different types of symbology all across the US. Again, this I think is the authoritative data source, and you can read about it if you just go over here. So it says that this layer presents the best known point and perimeter location of wildfire occurrences within the United States over the past 7 days, and that 7 days would be from November 9th, 2025. So it's pretty updated. As the name suggests, it contains the world data, so you can be exhausted by the types of data it can consist of. So you can search by region, so you can just search for USA, and you'll start to see different types of data will pop up. So we can go for different types of population data. So here you can see 2010 Hispanic population, Black population, American Indian population, and things like those. Also, we can start to see USA wildfire hazard potential with demographics and all the good stuff. You can also start to like search for different types of topic. So you can search for nature, and you'll start to see different types of local natural boundaries and data. If I search for USA nature, I have USA topo maps, I have USA soil map units, and also USA NAIP color infrared. Infrareds are really good way to understand the permeability and the soil vegetation density. So let's try to capture that within our map and see which part of US is permeable. So here I can see USA NAIP imagery color infrared, so I'd add that to my current map, and I should have an interesting infrared color band all across US. So again, because this is all across US, this is not that great in terms of resolution, but it's pretty good, and we can work with this as a base map. So yeah, here you can see the red means there are more greens in reality. So those portions will be more permeable than the ones that are not as much red. So yeah, and just to test, let's go back to our Lubbock. Let it load, and you'll see that the portions that are within the parks are usually more red. So that means these portions are more permeable than their surrounding. You'll see a building is not as much permeable as the park itself. So yeah, this is a pretty good data.